Hey everybody, this is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com, and today I want to talk about quantizing MIDI. If you're not too familiar with MIDI, I did an intro to MIDI video that you should check out, and I've gotten a lot of requests from people wanting to know how exactly do you quantize MIDI? What is it? Well, let me explain what it is first, and then I'll show you how I do it. If you record MIDI to a click track like I did here, then it's basically been recorded to a grid. So let me play this part that I recorded to a click track at somewhere around 85 BPM. Okay, and it goes on to do it again. Now, as you can hear, there was a click track, a metronome track, and I played not terribly in time with that. I could tell you that that was completely intentional, so I could show you quantizing, but that may or may not be true. So let's dive in and take a look. Here are the notes, and this is all the MIDI information that I just recorded. And if you notice, this is set to a grid, and we're looking at basically, if we're judging from here, we're looking at 16th notes, which is about right. So every line, vertical line here is a 16th note, and that's where the timing should be. You'll notice, however, that the very first note, I was a good almost 30-second note early. Oops. So you can see that I came in fairly early, and there are other spots where the timing just wasn't quite right. There's two ways to fix this. We could just come in and click all these notes and move them. For example, here where I come in early, I could just select these notes like so and hold the mouse there and drag them back and snap them into place. And that's preferred in the sense if you want complete control. You want to go in and every note you want to have complete control over how it's played, you can do that. Obviously, even with just this little 20-second performance, it would take me a few minutes to go through and do that with every note. And if we're talking about a full song or heaven forbid, like a symphony or something, that's going to take you a long time. So that's where quantization came in. We've got all these notes here, and they got all this note information. And there should be a way to simply just take that information and apply a certain factor to all of them. And that's all quantizing is. You're basically telling all the notes that I want you to snap in time. You're out of time. I want you to go to the nearest vertical line and snap to it. So how do we do that? Well, let's come up to the event operations window. And the first option here is quantize. You've got all sorts of things you can do with MIDI. But the one that most people deal with is quantize. Now what we're going to do is you've got options like note on, note off, preserve note duration. Note on means where the note starts. That's what we're worried about is when it starts playing. We don't care when I let go of the keys, just when I press down on them. And we also do want to preserve note duration, so we'll keep that on. Now the grid, this is asking how finely we want to quantize these, meaning do we want to quantize each note to the nearest 16th note or the nearest 32nd note or 64th or even down to quarter note. Depending on what you're quantizing, you'll want to change this. For something like keyboard, 16th or 32nd probably makes sense. Otherwise, it's going to sound a little off. So if I were to do this right now and select these notes, that's probably an easier way to select those. Just a Command A for all. And hit apply, quantize to 16th note. You notice they all jumped. I'm going to undo that and let you see it again. When I hit apply, these are all going to jump to the nearest 16th note. So watch all these notes jump around. So now the beginning of every note is on a grid. Now let's take a listen and see how that sounds. See, it sounded pretty good for the first couple notes, but then we get to this part, and the tempo is supposed to be dum bum ba dum bum 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 ba dum, but it doesn't. It quantizes it differently. So that note's actually supposed to be here, and it quantized it too early. So what do? Well, we tried 16th notes. That didn't work. Let's undo that. And you'll notice these notes were supposed to go to this line here, and for some reason Pro Tools thought they were closer to this line, so it moved them back. That probably has something to do with the way that I played it. Let's try 32nd notes. Now it's going to if we change our grid and take a look at it, it's going to quantize to the nearest vertical line now, which is a 32nd note. Let's try that. And see, it's just very sloppy because it's basically doing an all-out. It's changing everything completely to that line. So the first thing you should the first takeaway point you should get from this is that MIDI's not perfect, and quantizing MIDI's not perfect. It's not going to always catch everything, but there's a few things you can do. So what I want to do here is come to Restore Performance and hit Apply, and that's going to put it back to the original way I played it. In case you just screw things up irreparably, you can go back. So this is the original. So 16th note grid got the closest, so we'll leave it to that. But let's come in here and randomize a little bit and check the strength. So first off, strength here says how closely you want it to quantize. If we come in here and zoom in to this note, if we do 100% and we apply it, you'll notice that these notes will get snapped completely to this blue line there. Okay, we'll undo that. If we change the strength to say 50%, then they're only going to be taken about halfway to the nearest 16th note. Now, what's the point of that? Well, you'll notice if we did it all the way to 100%, it sounds almost robotic. It's very choppy. It doesn't sound like a real person played it. If you mess with that a little bit and bring the strength down, then suddenly it still leaves some of that feel that you put in there. Now, the randomize function kind of takes that a little further. It'll do the strength percentage that you put here, but it'll also, depending on each note, it'll move them a little differently. So there's a little bit of randomization there, which makes it feel more human. Some programs call that a humanize function. So we'll hit Apply and see what it does here. So you'll notice it brought this one about halfway closer to the line, but these are a little further away. Let's see how that sounds. So that doesn't sound too bad. Let's undo that and listen to especially the second half again. And now, if we apply quantization, so it tightened the performance up, and it's a good time saver. If there's some looseness in the performance, you want to tighten it up, but you don't have time to go through and fix every note, you can use quantization to do that. One of the things I noticed here, this note is still not right. So I'm going to manually go in and take it back where it needs to be. And you'll need to do that almost all the time with MIDI. Quantizing can get you 75% of the way there, and you got to do the rest by hand, and that's going to be the most musical approach. So hopefully this made some sense to you. I hope it wasn't too confusing, but that's quantization. It's just one of those things you got to spend time with and get to know, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. I'm Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com, and thanks for watching.